And you need to understand the importance of this because we want to prevent burnout. We know that entrepreneurship, it's demanding, it's consuming. We go to bed thinking about it. We wake up thinking about it, especially as an entrepreneur and the owner and the founder. Like, you are going to be consumed. It's all consuming. So how are you finding outlets? And I would say to this, if you figure out a hobby that you love, which mine is pottery, I have figured that out. It was a healing process for me. When you figure out that outlet, try your very best not to monetize that hobby. Welcome to the Moxie Podcast. We are in June. Can you guys believe it? We're almost halfway through the year. I'm so excited that you guys are here with me today. And today it's just going to be me. I decided to bring in a solo episode for you because as I was thinking of entrepreneurs and different people that I could bring onto the podcast, I said, what better way to not, to show up for you guys than to be, again, vulnerable and honest and share my experiences with growing my businesses over the years, what has gone wrong, what have I learned from mistakes, and then also to give you a couple of quick tips as you move forward. My hope for this episode is that you leave encouraged, you leave challenged, but you also have some strategy that maybe you can put into play into your business. So I love the conversations that we've already had, and I'm excited for those that are coming after this, but wanted to just, buckle up and share with you what's been going on the last couple of years. I will say that later in the year, and maybe not till even next year, because I've been doing an amazing job at planning this podcast and getting things out in a relatively more seamless manner. I say that because previously when I started the podcast, and we started the podcast January of 2019, it was like we were scrambling every week. And as you become a podcast host over the years now, coming into our 5th year, you learn how to plan better. So you have a better balance, because I do love sharing. I do love connecting. So I first want to start and say, if you're looking for connections, if you're looking for quick advice, please connect with me. I always have a free connect call that I love to learn who you are. You can find that in the show notes. If you're like, where do I find that information? Please, please, please reach out. If any of you know my heart, any of you have been a part of this community for a long time, which I hope a lot of you have, then you know that I love connection. I love being that support system for you. I love collaborating, and I love seeing big wins. So reach out if you just want to chat. If you want to work through anything, or just spit out ideas and get some feedback, I'm totally here for you, okay? So we can do that formally on Zoom, or you can just reach out or DM. But let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship as a whole. I'm not going to share my entire journey here, but like I said, either later this year into the next year, I am going to share some big pieces that happened in the last 2 years in my life personally, and also in the business. I think it's really important for us to understand that, to let you guys in, to share the hardships of what went on and where we are now. But today I just want to share some quick tips. So let's take a deep breath, kind of shake it out. And I just want to talk about overarching advice that I've heard from people, how I've applied it in my life, and how we moved forward. I think the first thing that we always hear as entrepreneurs is embrace failure. And I think that's actually really, really hard, because a lot of us don't want to fail. A lot of us don't want to make those mistakes. But when we do embrace failure, when we do see that, when we do embrace it completely and holistically, that becomes an opportunity to learn from that failure. So I want you to know and say to you today is to embrace failure as a learning opportunity. The second thing when growing any business, service or product-based business, is understand your customer. I think number one, when you put a strategy together, if any of you have done strategy or SWOT analysis, you ask yourself, what is our ideal customer avatar? I call it an ICA, right? Who is that person? Understand your customer and focus on them well. When we become too broad in our company and too vague, that's when actually it's harder to push the needle forward, right? Because we're not understanding the exact needs of our customers. So if we understand our customer and we prioritize the needs of that customer, we're going to see success in that. Now, we also have to be really patient, because the trust and the relationship we're building with our customer takes time. It takes time to cultivate that relationship. It takes time to grow in that relationship. So any relationship that we've ever had, we're not immediately, tied to the hip. If you think of a best friend that you had when you were like a little girl, or you think of a marriage that you're in, it takes time to build that. But it all starts by listening and understanding your customer needs. So make sure you're doing that well. The third advice I'd give to entrepreneurs is building a very strong network. Something my dad always told me, and I feel like, I'm a millennial, so I feel like in the millennial stage, like we were always told, in our generation, we were always told by our parents, like, work hard, work hard, right? My dad always said, get up, wipe yourself off, keep going. So we were taught really, really big, like, yeah, we were just taught to work hard. I actually love the new generation, you guys coming up, because you work smart, okay? And you value and prioritize your health and adventure and all these great things. There's pros and cons to all generations, right? But I love what we get to learn together when we see these multi-generational companies and people working together and all that. That is a complete tangent. But what I want to say is know your networks. My dad always said, work hard. And he always said, it's all about who you know. And that would really frustrate me. It would really, really frustrate me about that, because I'm like, no matter how hard I work, it might not get me to the place if I don't know the people. And when I did my research and I was focusing on social entrepreneurs, I was focusing on the constraints and gaps that we struggle with. The number one thing, or I'd say the top three things, right, that we always struggle with is we struggle with capital in the sense of financial capital. We struggle with capital in the sense of human capital, who's working in our team. And we struggle with human capital because we don't have the financial capital, right, to get the people to work in our team. And because of that, we struggle with social capital, and social capital is our networks. If we do not have the appropriate networks, we can't get the finances to maybe get the funding to get the people that then is going to generate the sales, right? Or the revenue, or that overarching strategy. So have a strong network. Understand that the relationships you build, are really, really important. Do not burn bridges. Act in kindness, because you never know how that's going to circle back, right? So continue to build a strong network, whether that is in people who are at advisors, or, people at conferences, like seeking those opportunities out, and be okay with navigating change. When you go through challenging times, when you go through that storm, it's always good to have a strong network, because those are the people that are going to help you get out of that storm. So that's important. The fourth thing I would say is always be flexible and adaptable. Ooh, this is normal for us, right? It's like I always feel like I'm Gumby or something, right? Where does that age me? Do we know Gumby? The green guy? What is he? Anyways, where he's just like so flexible and adaptable. We have to be constantly changing, be innovative, and be shifting. We have to be evolving. We have to look at our business model different, and we have to continue to adapt to the environment that is happening around us. This is really crucial to stay competitive in the market. It also is it's a crucial role within our team. We have to understand that the business landscape is changing, the people are changing, consumerism trends are changing, the economy is constantly changing, people's thoughts are changing with new generations that come up. And so we have to be adaptable and innovative as well. And the last advice that I'm going to give you guys before I get into some more specific advice on product-based businesses, the last advice I'd give you is work-life balance. And I don't actually like using the word balance. Balance is, to me, changes within, chapters of your life. But I love work-life rhythms. I've been talking a lot about rhythms this year, but rhythms. And what rhythms do you have in your life that are keeping you grounded, right? How are you caring for yourself? I'm part of Get Clarity faculty, and also I talk about this too, how I'm Gallup Strengths Finder, and I'm certified, and I always talk about the idea of our strengths, how they drive us, how they shape our vision, they shape our values, how they shape the way we run our company. And at the same time, there are rhythms in our life that are going to create care for us. And in Get Clarity, we talk about this sacred selfishness that we want to serve and we want to push out and we want to continue to do things. But in order to do things, we need to make sure that we are having this kind of, it'll seem selfish if all we know is give, but it's this sacred selfishness. We have to care for ourselves. We have to pour into ourselves. So maintain a strong work-life balance, these rhythms in your life. What are your personal interests? What do you love to do with your family? What do what is that balance look for you in productivity and creativity and just your overall well-being? This is different for everybody. Hear me again. This is different for everybody, but you need to create an outlet, right? And you need to understand the importance of this because we want to prevent burnout. We know that entrepreneurship, it's demanding, it's consuming. We go to bed thinking about it. We wake up thinking about it, especially as an entrepreneur and the owner and the founder, like you are going to be consumed. It's all consuming. So how are you finding outlets? And I would say to this, if you figure out a hobby that you love, which mine is pottery. I have figured that out. It was a healing process for me. When you figure out that outlet, try your very best not to monetize that hobby. Can we do that? Can we try that? Because as entrepreneurs, we're always thinking of monetization. We're like, oh man, I'm really good at this. What could this be? How could this help my family? Try not to do that. Try to keep it for yourself and just enjoy the process because that is going to keep you moving forward. It's going to keep you adaptable and flexible. It's going to keep you, focused. It's going to keep you grounded when failures happen, right? Throughout the journey. So let's keep pressing forward in that. Some of the biggest advice that I've gotten as an entrepreneur over the years, which has been a mixed bag because I will say I'm a little bit a more complicated entrepreneur because I have a social impact element, because I also am faith driven, and I fall in the business as missions world. Some people know me in the mission space. Some people know me as just a social impact leader. Some people know me just as a e-com entrepreneur, and I am all of those things. And at the same time, it's complicated because we do have a hybrid model and we have a nonprofit element, and we are constantly doing impact, constantly paying above wages, constantly looking at how we can adapt to the environment we're in to continue to help and do outreach and big development projects as well, which is a lot. So as much as I talk about sustainability of our systems and ourself and all of that going on, we still have this element where I'm not only responsible for bringing in dollars and revenue for sales, but also responsible for making sure that our nonprofit side is successful as well, and bringing in lots of donations too. So when you put all of that together, I bring in millions of dollars a year for the various entities that we run, and that can be complicated. Another thing that's complicated for us is because we are an e-com business and a wholesale. We're a multi-channel, and we do this in an omni-channel way because we're bringing in from all these different angles. And what's hard about e-com for us specifically, well, retail and wholesale, is that we have a larger bottom line because the way that we model and pay our artisans. And so this can be complicated when I try to do the same strategy that other people are doing potentially in the e-com space. It looks a little different for us because we know our whole chain, our supply chain. We are the production site. We aren't off-siting, our production to a different manufacturer. We are all the things. And that changes the whole conversation because I'm not just purchasing from someone, in an area that's getting underpaid, but I'm purchasing from our own, company, as well as they're getting paid very fair wages. And so I'm seeing the full picture. If you're like, oh my gosh, what did you even say? That was so kind of convoluted with all of your, entities and models. I feel you. As I created this model, we started having these conversations in 2020, and we, created this really unique model for Amani Collective, which I love. And it gives man, it's beautiful and we're still in process. So I'm excited to share with you more in detail of all the struggles that we've had over the years. Today is not the day and not the time, but I'm excited to share with you that because we have learned so much, and we want to be a model that people want to model their future businesses off of, to understand all the benefits that entail when you really care about the individual behind the product and you care about the whole process, not just the economic empowerment side of it, but the environmental empowerment side of it and the community effects of your company, all of it. But here's what I want to like pivot to right now. If you're running an e-com business, specifically a product-based business, you might actually be also selling your service online too, right? So this potentially could apply to that. But I want to share a couple of things of what I've learned as we have honed in our strategy to our marketing team, specifically to e-com and retail. And the reason why we're trying to push retail more is because, again, our bottom line is not so expensive, but it's higher, it's expensive. So we want our profit margins to be higher. We also want the value of our average order to be higher because we know that's important for people. It's important to have our average order value higher just for the sake of scalability of our company, but it's also just important to be cultivating beautiful relationships with our customer in that journey. So let's talk about e-com strategies really quick. I gave you some general entrepreneur strategies. Let's talk about what's happening on the e-com side and changes that we've made just in this year. So the first thing that we need to understand is our SEO. We need to understand our optimization of that. We need to understand how people are finding us. We need to understand the traffic of that. Whether you're looking at Google Analytics, whether you have a team behind you, whether you're looking at the driving data that's coming from all the platforms you're selling on, you need to understand how people are finding you. And then you need to prioritize the user experience. Is your website user-friendly? Is it appealing? Is it easy to navigate? What is stopping them? One thing that we started to look at is we were seeing a lot of people land on our website, even without ads or anything being run. We were seeing a lot of people land on our website. We're like, okay, how are they getting there? Where are they finding it? Where's this organic traffic coming from? And then we would see them add stuff to the cart. So we're seeing a good traction of that. We're like, okay, they're adding to the cart, they're getting there. And then all of a sudden, boom, drop off. No one is checking out. And we're like, okay, something is happening in this user experience, and it's either not friendly, something is like they're abandoning their cart, what is going on? We would have maybe a 20%, of people just on our website, and then maybe like an 18% of people adding to checkout, and then going all the way to 2% or something, which is incredibly low. Your add to cart, or especially your just conversion to website, right, should almost be, your conversion to that should be half. So if I have 10% coming to the website and then it drops a little to the add to cart, I should at least be getting a 4 to 5% of conversion to a sale. And that was not happening for a bit of time. So I started to look and really analyze my data. Now, as a founder, and especially after 11 years, this is tiresome, okay? So I have people on my team that I trust that are doing this, or I contract people out that I trust are doing this, but my numbers in my gut didn't feel like they were making sense. So we had an amazing team. I started to see analytics. I started to see things clearly, and then I started to go through it on my own. One thing that we saw with the user experience was our shipping was quite high. I was like, oh, I never noticed that. I would never buy something and then if it's like a $15 item with a $10 shipping, it makes absolutely no sense to me. So we changed our shipping to a flat rate. We knew we were going to lose a bit of money, just a tiny bit of money, maybe on the end if they bought more, but we knew that there could be a beautiful flat rate price that would be a balance. So we changed it to a flat rate, and we started to see significant change. The second thing we changed is also the free shipping rate. We had it at $100 or more to get free shipping, and we knocked that down to $65. We started to see changes. Another thing we changed is just the user experience of the navigation of the website. We had tons of tabs going on, tons of drop downs, things that were built out over the years that we just didn't need anymore. So it's like, okay, let's change this. So we've been in and out of our website a lot in Q1 and Q2 of this year, really analyzing what works, what doesn't work, and being real time with our data, right? So It is critical, critical, critical when you're looking at sales, and specifically in the e-com space, and you're not face to face with someone in a brick and mortar store, that they have the best experience possible. And you want to not only retain customers and reduce that cart abandonment, right? But you also then want to make sure that they return. And so the whole customer journey from first touch point is really, really important. The second thing that we changed is we leveraged all of our data analytics. I just went over that. I was in my data. I was looking at sales patterns. I was looking at website performance. I was tracking customer behavior. I was looking at the different product offerings we had and how it did well or not. We were looking at different marketing strategies from our organic side, from our email, from our text, to then to our ad development side, which we'll get to in a minute. And we were tweaking, we were adapting, we were constantly making improvements. We're still doing this real time right now, right? We're analyzing all the metrics. I'm looking at acquisition costs. Does it make sense anymore? I'm looking at the lifetime value of that customer and the approach that we had to them. These all matter. It is a lot of information. But as a founder and an owner and someone who's trying to flip the script, to give you an idea, we have 65% wholesale, about 35% retail. My goal is in the next 2 years that flips. We want our retail to be the leading driver. And our retail, we don't go to pop-ups like markets anymore. We don't do that. We don't sell retail face-to-face anymore. We only sell on a retail MSRP level online. So how are we making sure that we are online in a way that is effective is really important. And the only way that you know how to do that is you're constantly looking at data points and how it's changing. It also allows you to understand the seasonality of your brand, right? We have multiple brands under the Amani Collective umbrella. That's something that makes us unique. We did a massive restructuring last year where Amani Collective is a holding company of multiple brands. One being Amani Kids, which most of you know us for, and we'll link our brands in the notes. So we have Amani Kids, we have Suko Saddle Blankets, we have Talanta. I coach and do different things. We have a brand coming out, which I won't say yet, next month that we acquired, and we'll be relaunching that next month. We have another brand called Selah, which I'm really excited about, that will be launching in October, and you're going to start to see Easter egg things coming out for that. And so the things that we are doing, Amani Kids is kind of our testing brand, which is fun. And so the things that we are seeing work or we're doing there, we're trying to apply across the board, because again, nothing is going to be an all, a cookie cutter answer, like all a one size fits all type thing. But I do want to have answers for when I sit and I talk to you guys who have brands. And again, whether you're a product or a service online, you need to know how your customer works. I will say the service-based stuff of what we do online is still struggling, because I've spent so much time on Amani Kids that I haven't been invested in myself and showing up for you guys as a coach and what that looks like. But in time, right? There's also, you have to ask yourself, what can you do, right? You have to prioritize your time and what that looks like for you. So right now, that's not the prioritization of what we're doing. So we're moving in different steps. Okay. The last couple things that I want you to focus on, right? So, we talked with prioritizing user experience. You always want to leverage all data analytics that you have. You want to invest in digital marketing. That is the nature of the world we're in. So if you do not have capital to put investment in, it's going to be a struggle from the very, very beginning. Okay. Sorry for the little sound here. We're in real time here. So again, if you do not have investment or some cash flow influx, it's going to be a struggle, because digital marketing is something that is important. It's something that we need to be looking at the pay per click. We need to be looking at ads. We need to be looking at social media. Meta is not your only way. It is not your only way to be able to push people to your website, okay? So let's ensure that we can drive traffic to your site, and you're doing it by different channels, and you're doing it in different strategies, right? There's an organic play. There's also the paid play. But overall, you need to be investing in a strategy. Who is preparing the strategy? Is it you? Who is running your strategy? Who is checking in all the platforms, whether it's Meta or Google or Pinterest or whatever avenue you're going at? Who is your pinpoint person that is going to make sure your 2, 3, 4, 5 year strategy is actually on track? And at times that can't be you if you're the founder. Okay, so you need to have someone in your team who's looking at every angle and every contracted team that you have to make sure that you're being successful. You also want to focus on the customer, okay? That was my kind of top one, right? The ICA, when I talked about, work-life balance, all those things as an entrepreneur, embrace failure. I also said, know your customer, right? When you know your customer, you then need to focus on the customer service, right? For that customer. That customer, you want to continue to have them come back, right? You want to be able to respond promptly when they need help. You need to have efficient responses to that. You want customer reviews. You want feedback, these constant feedback loops to make your service better. So you need to engage in a way and find a way to do that. There are tons of apps that you can put in and plug in to Shopify, if and you're in the back end of Shopify, tons of things that you can do to make sure that you have the customer reviews and you can utilize the customer reviews and you can push that through. So know that you can do this in multiple ways. You can also have live chats, emails, phone, whatever it might be. We really just focus on email, like support. We don't necessarily have a live chat AI bot or anything like that online, but this is the way we're moving towards, right? When we're looking at optimizing customer support to make sure that your customer journey and the user experience is gone well, you're going to want to look at that. And the last thing I would say for kind of just overall success in sales, and boosting the success in that is to optimize your inventory management. This was something that, man, really killed us. And a lot of you guys are struggling with this too, especially post-COVID. You planned, you got inventory, you overanalyze that, or you base your projections on COVID analytics where we're just skewed because everyone's online and at home. And so your stock levels, you just have way too much right now. And I'm seeing companies go under because of this. So we need to make sure that we hone into our inventory management, but that it's aligned with all of our platforms, because we want to be able to implement a strategy behind inventory. How much inventory do you want to hold? How much money is sitting there at all times? You need to understand where you're holding this. Some of you might be just a drop shipping method. Some of you might be a warehouse, whatever that might be, but you need to be able to optimize that in order for that to be successful, especially if you're a product-based business. If you are a service-based, then you're great. There's only one of you or one of your products or something. So that's a little bit digital products or service is very different than when you have physical products. But just understanding that. Overall, that was a lot of information thrown at you today. I want to encourage you to not give up. I've seen a lot of friends this year really struggle, including us. But I've seen a lot of friends really struggle and throw in the towel this year. And I support all of them for multiple reasons, whether that has to do with self-care, whether that has to do with new seasons in their family life, or that they just don't have the I don't want to say resiliency, because the people I know are so resilient, but they just don't have that energy anymore. And that's not where their energy needs to be, right? So I just want to encourage you to breathe, embrace those failures, pick yourself up, work hard, know your social network. If you guys need any connections, like I said, I'm going to circle back to that. Please reach out. You can set up a connect call with me. I'd love to ideate with you. I'd love to connect you with anybody, but know your networks. It's really, really important. And just continue to be innovative, continue to experiment, continue to personalize your approach. What I'm finding, especially in e-com, especially in this online space, is brands that have more personality and more a person behind it are going to be more successful. Especially if you're not generating a lot of ad spend, you're going to be more successful in the organic approach if people know who you are. But that is a level of vulnerability. It's a level of more time. There's a lot to that as well. There's pros and cons for everything. You never see my face on Amani Kids, so I can't say that I live out this approach in our kids brand. But my hope is that our voice is the girl next door, that people feel like they can go ask for sugar if they need it for their cake, Like I want people to know who we are, that We're soft, but we're brave, that we have grit, and we're generous with our time, and we're kind, right? And so make sure you understand your values, what's driving you, what's aligning you to that, and continue to push forward. Continue to push forward. Do not give up in the pursuit of one of your passions. And really, if you are to that crux where you're tired, where you're just not sure, I would encourage you to take a retreat, maybe a 2-day. I hear, I have friends who've taken silent retreats, but just get away, reflect how far you've come, pray, and then make the decision. Try not to make decisions when you're stressed. Try not to be impulsive. Try to breathe through it and take a couple days. I used to make very impulsive decisions. I'm very decisive, which is good and sometimes bad. But I know what I want. But when I'm stressed and overwhelmed, that is not the time to make decisions. That is not the time to shut down your whole business. That's not the time to launch a new product or try to make quick cash or quick money, because it will seem inauthentic if you try to do that. So let's keep our authenticity. Let's keep striving to be better, and know that there are people that love and care for you. So ask for help. It is okay to ask for help. And with that, I did not realize I was going to talk to you guys for half an hour. I was like, this is going to be a quick 10 minutes. But I am honored to be the host of the Moxie podcast and to have a lot of ventures that I get to run. But I'm even more blessed and grateful for those of you who I have grown so close to over the years, who do take my invitation and reach out. It has been a joy to be with you guys and walk alongside all of you. And I just can't wait to do that for many, many more years. And so I'm going nowhere. My companies are going nowhere, even though it's been, a struggle over the last few years. We're seeing the up and up. We're going nowhere. And this podcast is definitely just beginning. And as always, I'm so grateful you're part of this community. So keep it up. Keep letting your light shine, and Moxie up.